Welcome to the Book Dormer. Different type of episode this week. Instead of discussing what books I managed to read or doing a deep dive into one of the books, instead we're going to be fixing or making something even better for the dormer. For those who haven't seen, the dormer is a converted dormer. It really is a dormer on the outside of a house. And it used to be a bed with a play area underneath it. Well, that got ripped out. I replaced it. And I had these Kallax 3x3 IKEA Kallax bookcases. And they're not necessarily bookcases per se. They're storage, right? They sell, I mean, you can put a lot of things on them. I've got a set where I've got tools on them. And so there's a couple little things on it. One, I wanted to get more. You can see I've got some, this is from an earlier episode, and I've got some books shoved up on top because I ran out of space, and I'd like to be able to display some of the cooler covers. The problem is I needed more cubes, so these are a pair of 3x3s. So 3 cubes by 3 cubes. They're each 13¼ inches, which is right about 33½ centimeters. And I wanted to stack them. So they come in just under 48 inches tall, counting the top and the bottom, and there isn't 48 inches up to the ceiling. So what I'm going to do instead is get another one of the Kallax. I'm going to get a 3x3. They don't sell a 2x3. At least they don't in the United States. They sell 2x2, 2x4, and a bunch of larger sizes, but they don't sell a 3x3 or a 2x3. They do sell 3x3s, obviously, but they don't sell 2x3s, and that's what I wanted to get into here. So I'm going to go buy myself a 3x3. As you can see, we got one here, and we're going to cut it on down, and we trim it down so that the bottom shelves leave. And that's the key. We want to get rid of the bottom shelves. Now, we're not going to get rid of actually the wood itself. We're going to reuse that for something coming up here in a second. But first, well, more in the second, but don't forget about the sides. So as we cut through the sides. Just a little freaky because this isn't actually solid, which will leave us a 2x3 that's going to go up to about 6 inches below the ceiling. There is a second little thing that we need to take care of as well. And you can see it here. You notice, look at the gap between the upper shelf, or the top of the books and the top of the shelf. The Kallax series really wasn't made with non-art books in mind. Now I've got some art books, like history of, Florentine art that will fill this just fine. I don't have that many of them, and this is my fiction area, or mostly fiction, and they're not that huge of volumes. And so I wanted to come up with something to fill this space, short of stacking books on top. Like you can see, I've got the books stacked on top there on the ones over near the wall, and they're not level. It kind of bugs me. So I really wanted to come up with something. And since we were saving 2 vertical shelves out of our Kallax, because we took on those bottom shelves, and 1 crossbeam, figured, why don't we use that? And here's a little bit of a bonus on why some of my books looked all concave, because somebody has a big tail and likes to come over there. And oh no, he's coming. Now we're all going to be assaulted by the dog. As you can see, somebody uses, oh gosh, hello Breton. So this is Breton, and he is actually one of the reasons why some of the better books are going to be going up high, because he likes to smack these books. You can kind of see the indent here, this pattern as they come in and out. That's Breton saying hello. And there we go. First one's done. We'll go ahead and take a peek at it. Notice there's only solid at the end, so we've got to make sure that we use that part when we attach it. It's solid, but any screws have to go into that solid piece. All right, it's time for a standard building montage. So what you got to start with is the wooden dowel. So you put the dowels in, and then you try to wiggle down and push, and just try to give some weight on it. You can use a hammer if you need to. Just be very careful if you're using like an actual hammer rather than a wooden mallet. And then you got to flip it over. The biggest problem really for me was that on the bottom, I just had to drill down the holes. So I drilled them, and then I ran pilot holes, or countersink holes, so that the screws fit flush. And that's it. And there we go. The existing shelves have 6 more cubes. And here it is with the initial set of books being put in, but we didn't have those little shelves I ended up making, and so we need to make the shelves. So the solution I came up with was to take those shelves. I had two of the vertical shelves, right? That was the vertical piece that sits between the long piece and the upper and the bottom in this case. Took those and took that long vertical piece, ripped them on my radial arm saw, so I ripped them to 7 inches wide, cut them to the correct length across, which is 13, just under 13 and a quarter. And I say just under because you'll notice the Kallax actually aren't all 100% even. There's a little wiggle room in them. And then I bought these little pieces here. This is a PVC, $10 or $12 for 8 foot by 3 inches, 3 inch nominal, so it's really like 2.5 inch. And then came the problem. The problem is, and you can see my little solution for it here. The problem is that the edges chip on this type of material when you cut it. So depending on what you're using to cut, and I have a pretty industrial radial arm saw as opposed to one that's meant just for fine work, and it chipped. I tried all sorts of solutions, using a box knife to cut the top on it so that it wouldn't chip, and it still chipped anyways. And I don't want to do that to my books, right? I mean, these are my nice books. I'm going to put them on top of it. So what I thought to do was to put this washi tape. This is a tape that scrapbookers use, and I just got it offline. It was $8.50, I think, for a bunch of it. And so it comes in different designs. I put it on, rubbed it down where it's nice and on there, right? You got to press it in. And then I used a paper towel against it multiple times just to make sure there wasn't anything bleeding off. One of the designs had a little bleed off, and it stopped after I rubbed for a while. So I figured what was happening is it was just like a layer of ink. You know, because when you pay $9 for like a pack of this, I don't know if you're really expecting quality. In the front, then we have a nice smooth front, nice smooth top. This is all nice and safe. Just 2 screws down through this, through either side, right down into the piece. And that's where we get our little stands. And now we have a little shelf for our shelves. One final look at the floof and the bookshelves before the little shelves go in, and boom. Now let's check it out, how high they are. I had space enough with the material that came with this Kallax project. I was able to do 10 of those little shelves, so I was able to get those in. Sooner or later, I'll actually complete the bookshelves up on the right-hand side. I'll have 10 more. I think I'm probably going to build some more of these little shelves, and maybe even put some lips behind some of them to stop the dog tail effect, because Braden gets excited, and that's why they're all concave like that. Like, those were actually straight before I started taking pictures of this. But Braden came to say hi, and Braden does what Braden does. Pretty simple project. It took a couple days. A lot of ripping, but got it done, and now I have a lot of shelves. Back to the reading.